What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Coronavirus Sports Boredom. This is Ethan here with JD, and today with the upcoming entirely virtual NFL draft, we're going to be doing our mock draft 1.0. We already did this for the NBA. If you want to go check that one out, please do. But without any further ado, let's start it off with JD. You're the Cincinnati Bengals right now. You really need a quarterback. I think this is obvious, but who are you taking right here with the number one?
If the Bengals decide to keep their draft pick is one question. Who knows what they'll do? The Cincinnati Bengals are kind of the joke of the league as they've been pretty bad. And even though they have some decent talent in AJ Green, but who's been injured. But I think I have one as the obvious choice here, Joe Burrow going number one to the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't see them doing anything else unless they trade the pick. Personally, I think TAGOVAILOA is the best quarterback in the draft. But due to his injuries and other complications, Joe Burrow obviously is he's the number one pick. So
yeah,
Joe Burrow.
You know, the one thing about Joe Burrow, and I do think he's the number one pick, you know, what people don't realize is, like, Tua comes with questions, but Joe comes with some questions too. You know, he's very similar to Dwayne Haskins. He's a guy who's running on one really good college season. He'd been solid in other years, but he had one really good season. And we saw how that ended up for Dwayne Haskins. He has not really made a huge impact in the league thus far. The Redskins are dismal, so that could be contributing to it. But I definitely think Joe comes with more questions. He's less the complete package than people think, but I still got to go with the Heisman Trophy winner. I'd agree with you there.
Yep. So number two pick, who do you got for the Washington Redskins?
You know, I also think this is fairly obvious. The Redskins are a team that's in a world of hurt. They just need talent right now, and they could definitely use an edge rusher. Like I said, they need help at a bunch of positions. And I would have to go with, the best player in this draft in Chase Young out of Ohio State. I think this is fairly obvious. This is a team that needs help at a lot of positions. Quarterback isn't necessarily one of them because they're still banking on improvement from Dwayne Haskins. So I have to take Chase Young, best player in the draft, with the number two pick.
Yeah, I think he's gonna go second. Also, I agree. I don't think there's much dispute there. And also, don't forget that Alex Smith, I think, is coming back this year from his injury.
Yep.
On the Redskins, so it's gonna be interesting to see how that all pans out.
That's gonna be amazing to see him back out there. But anyway, moving on to the number three pick then, the Detroit Lions, another team, decent quarterback, but he's getting up there. Team that's never been able to put all the pieces together and has been pretty trash for a long time. Who do you think goes third in this draft, JD?
Well, I know I saw Mel Kiper's mock draft and different analysts, CBS mock draft, and after the Lions did trade away Darius Slay, they do need help in the defense position, especially in the cornerback area. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with most analysts and take from Ohio State back-to-back picks for Ohio State here. Jeff Okudah, the cornerback from Ohio State.
I like that. I think he's a really good player.
He's a great corner, yeah. And number four we got here. Who do you got going there to the New York Giants?
So this is a tough pick because, in my opinion, the best available player is Derrick Brown out of Auburn. Mm-hmm. But they have a bit more of a need. You know, I know a lot of people have been saying they're going to take an offensive tackle, but I don't think there's, you know, you got Jedrick Willis out of Alabama who's pretty skilled, but I don't know if there's one that's that good. They're the Giants, so we have no idea. I've seen some pretty shocking mock draft projections for them. But in terms of doing the right thing for that team, they also have somewhat of a need at linebacker. I would probably go with Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson. I think he's a really talented player who also fills a need. Not quite as glaring of a hole as offensive tackle, but to me, there's not an OT that's quite high up enough on my draft board that I would take him here. So if I'm the Giants, I got to go ahead and take Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson.
Yeah. I think Isaiah Simmons is a good choice there, but I also think that they might draft an offensive lineman. We'll see how that goes, but I think they're going to draft a linebacker. But something also to mention, obviously we're just doing the draft order with no trades predictions. I do think that the Giants might give away that position because that's just the Giants. They drafted Daniel Jones, which is kind of a shocker in some sense.
Well, I could see it paying off.
I don't know. I think they might give away that pick. We'll see what happens, though.
Quite possible. I could see it trading off. They want to try to go lower and still get the best available OT and try to get something better. It's a risky strategy, but it could pay off. We've seen crazier things from the Giants, so I don't know. But it's about time to move on. And you got the number 5 pick, the Miami Dolphins. That's a team that has a need at quarterback, of course. But who do you got going there?
You know, I've been seeing it's going to be Herbert, TAGOVAILOA, one of the two. Tua, Herbert, one of the two. I think if the Dolphins are smart, they take Tua TAGOVAILOA. No disrespect against Justin Herbert. I think he's going to be a decent quarterback. I don't think he's going to be better than Tua. I think Tua is one of the most underrated elite guys in this top 10. I mean, his injury he just battled with. I think if Tua would have played last season, I think Alabama would have won the national championship. LSU still would have been good, but I think Tua would have ran away with the Heisman and the number 1 pick. But obviously, that didn't happen. So I got Tua going here. I don't think much else can happen. I mean, it's a safe pick, I think, for them. But who knows what they'll do. Maybe it's Herbert. We'll see what happens. But I think if they're smart, Tua.
Yeah, I agree. As a guy who comes with some questions, definitely a lefty guy, a dude who's had some injuries, but he's got so much talent and so much upside. I definitely think that's the right call.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, too, that the safe pick is Herbert. If you really want to be like no injuries, you just want a guy who's proven himself. But then again, I just think Tua. Personally, if I was a GM and I had, let's say, the number 1 pick like the Bengals, I would give that away and move back to maybe 5. Give the Dolphins BURROW because everyone knows BURROW's going first. But I would want Tua as right now as my franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I could see doing that if the Bengals trade down to 5. The only thing is then you risk the Lions snapping up Tua, and both those quarterbacks are gone. And 5th, it's kind of too early to take Herbert. But if you really need a quarterback, I mean, you've kind of screwed yourself at that point. So it would be a risky play, but it's one that I could see paying off.
But then again, if the Lions take a quarterback, they have Matthew Stafford, one of the highest paid QBs in the league too. So they don't want, I mean, it depends. But then again, I'm going to say this too about Tua. We've seen Aaron Rodgers in past drafts. Like he was supposed to be up there with Alex Smith and he fell all the way down to the Packers. You know what I mean? So Tua could go somewhere else, maybe down to the Raiders, down to who knows really, to be honest. But if people think, if they doubt him a lot, he might not go to the Dolphins. And the Chargers, I think if the Dolphins take Herbert, the Chargers don't take Tua. That's just my personal opinion. Then if Tua doesn't go 5, he's going to slide down.
Really? All right. Well, next pick anyway is the Chargers. And, this is a tough one because, again, Derrick Brown, Jerry Jeudy, there's some really good players on the board. But to me, I got to fill in one of that team's needs in terms of protecting whatever quarterback they have. And this is where I take Jedrick Willis Jr. out of Alabama. He's probably, in my opinion, the best OT in the draft. That fills in a need for them. And there's not really an ideal pick for them at this point, but I would have to go with Jedrick Willis.
So you don't have them taking a quarterback here? Huh?
I do not. I think it's simply too early for them to take another quarterback. I think they have a need at quarterback, but I think they definitely still have other means of filling it. But I have them taking an OT. I think it's quite possible they reach for a QB, but I think it's just too early to take.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. But also, I think, too, if you're going to talk about offensive linemen, I think the better offensive lineman in the draft is from Iowa, Tristan Wirfs. I think he's better. Yeah. But that's all up to debate between scouts because they don't even have workouts, so who really knows, to be honest.
It's so hard. I've heard a lot come up about Tristan Wirfs as well. I know I've heard his name come up for even the Giants pick, considering the Giants are the Giants. But I think the best one is Jedrick Willis. So I'm going to go with him. But there's still, even though there's not OTs that are, top of the draft board, there's a lot of really solid OTs in this draft still.
Well, then moving to number 7, Carolina Panthers. This is an interesting one here. I mean, they could go for a couple different options here. You could see Simmons maybe sliding down here. You could see a couple different guys, maybe even Jones. But I don't know here. Not Jones. Brown. What did I say? Jones. Derrick Brown from Auburn. I think that's his name. I think they got to take someone on defense. I mean, they got pretty decent offensive package right now. So My overall, I'll leave this one up to you. I know I'm supposed to have this one, but this one, I don't know. The Panthers, who knows?
Yeah, I think it's simply too far for Derrick Brown to go down. So I think he's one of the best players in the draft. I could definitely see him going here. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine with me. I just don't know, honestly, what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's a tough pick because it's not like there's a clear positional fit. There's a lot of talented players available. So,
well, let me say this. I mean, we're going to go with him for that, but let me say this too. If the Lions don't take a cornerback and they maybe take Brown or someone or whatever happens in the draft, I think that the cornerback, OKUDAH, whatever what name was,
yeah,
from Ohio State, I think he could go to the Panthers. Panthers are going to take the best defensive player available. That's in my opinion, whoever they deem. So, yeah.
Yep. And then who we got next?
Arizona at number 8.
Arizona Cardinals. Now that's obviously they got Kyler Murray. They're finally looking fine at the quarterback spot for the first time in a while. But to me, again, this is a time where Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson has just gone too far down, right? He's still on the draft board, and they have a need at linebacker. To me, he's simply too good to pass up anymore. I would consider taking Jerry Jeudy just because he's so dominant. But to me, Simmons is actually the better player, and I'd have to go with Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson.
Yeah, I mean that's a decent pick, but what I think is going to happen, I think you said Willis is going to go 6 to the Chargers. I think the Chargers will end up taking Simmons at the linebacker position, and then Willis going to the Cardinals at 8. But either one goes that way. I think Willis is a good fit for the Cardinals. I think they're going to get an offensive lineman personally.
Yep, they both fill in teams' needs, so those could definitely be reversed that way.
And then moving on to number 9, we got not the Buccaneers, Jaguars here. What I do think is going to happen is if Tua gets drafted and not, slid down, I think Tua gets far enough, Jacksonville takes Tua if he gets that far. If he gets that far.
I was just going to bring this up, talking QBs. What are your thoughts on Gardner Minshew? I know he's a really underrated guy.
No, I think he's good, but I think I love Gardner Minshew. I think he's good, but I think Jacksonville's looking something maybe. I don't know, because you can't let such a good player like Tua slide down, but I don't think he's going to slide down. So then again, I think Jacksonville might trade their pick. Who knows, to be honest, but I think that Jaguars either trade the pick or go with Andrew Thomas from Georgia, offensive lineman.
I like that. He's a heck of a player, man.
And also, let me say this too. If I know some people have been saying that the Buccaneers might trade up. I think Buccaneers, this would be a good opportunity for them to trade up, not too far up, but maybe in the top 10 where they can get someone because go along with that offense with Brady leading it now.
Yep, maybe even get Jerry Jeudy. He's a freak of nature, man.
Yeah. Well, for the Bucs, they don't really need any more wide receivers, but for the Jaguars, yeah.
Yep. Well, I mean, the Bucs have wide receivers. They just don't have elite wide receivers.
Well, they got Mike Evans and they had Godwin. They are all really great wide receivers, in my opinion. But
anyway, I guess
moving on to 10, they got the Browns here.
Browns here at number 10.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like there's not a clear pick. It's like they don't really have a need in terms of wide receiver. But, man, Jerry Jeudy is still on this draft board. I'd be really tempted to take him.
But
considering the needs of that team, though, I'd be more tempted to go with a safety or a linebacker maybe for them.
And look at the O-line, too.
And the O-line. But, I could see Tristan Wirfs going here, honestly. Him or probably Xavier McKinney out of Alabama. Those are both a couple of really good and really underrated players. What do you think? Do you think they go with offense or defense here?
I think they're going to go with a guy from Louisville or possibly a guy from Georgia. I think it's going to be Andrew Thomas or it's going to be MEKHI, BECTON, both offensive tackles. Because I think the Browns need offensive tackle. Man. Their defense is not bad because they got Myles Garrett, but their offense needs an offensive line, dude.
Give him a guy to protect Baker, which is obviously top priority for that team right now. Yeah, if Andrew Thomas out of Georgia is still available, I think it's either him, Wirfs, or McKinney. I would go ahead and take Andrew Thomas if he's still on.
That's great with me. Then number 11, we got the New York Jets. Now, I think the Jets are going to take a wide receiver here. Whether that's going to be JEUDY or Lamb is personally up to them. I think JEUDY's a lot better wide receiver.
Yep.
The Jets, if they're smart, because they still got Le'Veon, I think they take Jerry JEUDY.
Yeah. Oh, I totally think that's the right decision. I think that's the only choice for them. They're a team that has a need at wide receiver, and with no disrespect to CeeDee Lamb because he is an outstanding player, Jerry JEUDY is, potentially a top 5 pick. They would be thrilled to get him at that spot in the draft.
Yeah, and also maybe another possibility, they might draft offensive lineman, but I doubt it. I think they're going to take JEUDY. But moving on to 12, we got the Raiders here.
Yep.
Las Vegas Raiders. Let's make that
now
clear.
Las Vegas Raiders. That's right.
And I think there's an obvious choice here. Who do you got here?
For me, I think they need wide receivers as well. I would definitely take CeeDee Lamb here. If you're the Raiders and you're at that point, you're really hoping that Jerry JEUDY falls to you, but that would be crazy. I still think CeeDee Lamb is absolutely the right pick here. I think he's a great fit for that team.
I 100% agree.
To me, it's the only choice for the Raiders. Part of the reason Derek Carr has struggled is because he hasn't had much of a receiving core. I think that's a huge fit for them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then we go into the 49ers here, who are getting their draft pick from the Colts. They're at 13. I think the Niners, they're a solid team again. They haven't made a lot of moves in the offseason except Emmanuel Sanders is gone. But they got him midway through the season. They're a team like the Packers and Ravens who haven't made big news. Well, the Ravens did with Campbell, but I think the Niners, they go with either a defensive tackle or an offensive lineman. I'm going to be inclined to go with JAVON KINLAW from South Carolina.
That's a great pick. He's just gone really far down, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's a guy that just I can't see him slipping too much further than that.
But then again, if he does slip, I think he's going to go 14 to Tampa, who's our next pick. Who do you got going there?
So I think their primary needs are offensive. I think they could use either an offensive lineman or I could see him going with a running back here. I think DeAndre Swift here would be a little bit of an early draw. So to me, a guy who's slipped pretty far down again, I would have to take Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa, who's some people have said is the best OT in this draft. I
agree. Yep.
But I definitely think he's the right pick for that team.
I personally think he goes earlier, but I think he's a top 5 pick. But if he does fall, you can look for McKinney or something, MEKHI BECTON from Louisville.
Yep.
He's still there with different guys like that. But I think you're right there. I think Wirfs will offensive tackle, put it that way. But we'll put Wirfs there for now.
Yep.
15.
Moving on, number 15. Another struggling team, had a decent season, has a lot of needs. The Denver Broncos. Who do you got going there at 15th?
No, the Broncos. I think they're going to take the best player available, in my opinion. Obviously, I don't think JEUDY, Lamb, or any good wide receiver is going to fall to them. It'd be a miracle for that team if they did, but I think they got to take C.J. Henderson from Florida here.
I like that. I think that's a solid pick. He's an underrated guy. He's a guy, in fact, I would think the Falcons, who have the next pick, will be looking at. But that's definitely a solid pickup for them.
Well, I think the Falcons do definitely need a cornerback. Who do you got going to the Falcons?
So I think they go with a cornerback, or I could possibly see him going with a running back even, considering their losses at that position.
But they did just get Gurley.
But I still think they have a big time need at quarterback. They just don't really have someone to fill it. So to me, I this might be a little bit crazy here, but I actually see him taking DeAndre Swift out of Georgia as a running back for them.
But what about Todd Gurley?
Yes, but you still need someone who's complementary to Todd Gurley because he's elite. Yes, I still believe he's elite, but he can't take the volume of carries that some of these guys are getting right now because his one weakness is that he has dealt with injury problems. So absolutely, he's going to be the number one option, but I think there's a ton of work to be had for DeAndre Swift, who's probably the best running back in this draft. It might be a bit of an early draw. It might be a gamble. They could use a cornerback, but to me, there's not a clear cornerback pick after C.J. Henderson's off the board. So I got to go with DeAndre Swift here.
I think that's very early. I think they go with AJ Terrell. And also, we haven't mentioned Justin Herbert hasn't been picked yet. I think he goes a lot earlier in this draft, but I don't have any teams taking him right now. But
Yeah,
I think he goes to the Chargers personally. But
really. I could see that. I just think it's an early draw for him.
but he's a top 10 pick, and no one's picked him yet. So
debatably, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Justin Herbert. He's a great player. He's showed out at college, but I still don't think he's a top 10 pick. I just think it speaks to the talent.
Well, where do you think Herbert goes then?
I'm not even necessarily saying he's a guaranteed first-round pick. I think
no, he's a guaranteed first-round pick no matter what.
I think he goes late in the first round. And you do have to look at some of the qualities Herbert brings. There's something to be said for the 4-year guys. He's stuck with his team. He showed he's a winner. He's got, the winning mentality with that team. He's stayed with that team. He's loyal. He's actually an incredibly intelligent dude, which is something a lot of people don't know. I did like a perfect or near perfect GPA in his college career as well. So I love Herbert. I think he's a really great dude and a really great player. But, it's a little bit more of the intangibles. And he's got a lot of talent, but I don't know if it's quite up there with Tua and Joe Burrow and these early first-round guys.
Yeah. Well, then we'll move on to the Cowboys real fast. I think this is a no-brainer. I think they're going to take LSU. CHAISSON, whatever, how do you pronounce his name? No offense to him. But I think that's an obvious pick right there, as he's going to be the new DeMarcus Lawrence, in my opinion.
Yeah, LSU is stacked, dude. I mean, he's crazy good. You got Justin Jefferson's crazy good. You got Patrick Queen. You got Joe Burrow. I mean, there's just crazy good players all around the field for that team. It's no wonder they were national champs. And I could definitely see CHAISSON, again. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name either. But I could definitely see him going there. I think that's a good pick.
And then we got the Dolphins next again. If you got going to the Dolphins here.
Oh, man. So we have the Dolphins already taking Tua. And that's a team that could also use a safety, I could see. And to me, it's just too far down. I think they have to go with Xavier McKinney here out of Alabama. I just think that he has really been an underrated guy in most drafts and in our draft. He's really flown under the radar. Alabama had a bit of a down year, but they still have great players, and Xavier McKinney is a potential top 10 player in all of college football last season. And so, if the Dolphins get him at 18, I think they'd be thrilled.
Yeah, I agree there. I think next got the Raiders again, 19. I don't know who they go with here. I think they either go with the wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. He's been making headlines. I think maybe go with Henry Ruggs. They could go with Patrick Queen. They could go with AJ EPENESA. They could go with Austin Jackson. There's a lot of ways they could go. But I think they're going to go. Again, they already took a wide receiver. So I think they're going to go with another wide receiver to get this core just dynamic. I think got Justin Jefferson going here to the Raiders again. And if not another wide receiver, Patrick Queen, the linebacker from LSU.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson, I mean, he's good. He's absolutely good. I personally think Henry Ruggs is the better player. But those guys are both outstanding.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. Henry Ruggs is I think he's a lot better too. But then again, it's the Raiders. You got to think what they're going to do. But then again, if they did get JEUDY and the Jets didn't take JEUDY, I think they take both Alabama dudes just for chemistry purposes. But I think they're going to go ahead and go out on a limb and take Jefferson here.
All right. And that brings up the Jacksonville Jaguars, right?
Yep.
And, again, a team that's had some struggles. And, man, I mean, Henry Ruggs is still on this draft board. That team does not have a distinct need at wide receiver. But, man, he's good. I mean, I just don't know if a team like that can pass him up. I mean, if they do, I still think they need cornerbacks for sure. Oh, man. This is a really tough pick for me.
I got Trevon Diggs going here from Alabama.
I mean, to me, he's not even necessarily, and he's really good, believe me. But he might not even be a first-round type talent. He's kind of edge of the first round. I have to agree with you. I think the Jaguars, just due to their needs, I think they have to take a chance on Diggs. I think that's the right pick. I think it's tough. I don't think it's ideal. I think that the draft, as we've played it out, is not playing to the Jaguars' strong suit, is not playing to their strengths, or I guess more their weaknesses. But I think they do have to go with Diggs. I think that's the right pick. It's a tough pick, but I think that's the right pick here.
And moving on to the Eagles at 21, I got them going with Henry Ruggs here.
Yes, yeah. There's no doubt about that. If he goes this far, if the Eagles seriously get him with the 21st pick, they have got to be overjoyed with that. I think he's even a potential top 10 guy. If he slips into the low 20s, I mean, anybody will be a fool not to take him, especially that Eagles team, which could use a better receiving core around an elite quarterback in Carson Wentz.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to 22 here. Who do you got going to the Minnesota Vikings?
So, you know, they would have been a team that would also have been pretty happy to get Henry Ruggs. Man, I mean, some people are saying they need a quarterback. I don't think so.
A quarter or corner?
A quarterback.
No, I think they need a cornerback, in my opinion. But yeah.
I do think they need a cornerback, however. And Diggs is off the board already. You know, I would be tempted to look at, there's a couple guys that come up. I would think Damon Arnette out of Ohio State, another Ohio State guy. I think he's good. I also like Jalen Johnson out of Utah. I think Utah's a really underrated college team as a whole. Again, I think it's a bit of an early draw for those guys, and I think a lot of the cornerback talent, there's a lot of teams that need cornerbacks, and there's not that many talented quarterbacks out there. So the cornerback talent pool has kind of been taken up. I think they're fine with Kirk Cousins. I definitely don't think they need a quarterback. I think they're going to ride it out with him, and I got to go with Damon Arnette out of Ohio State here.
Yeah, I don't know. I got either Christian Fulton, because remember the 25th pick also belongs to the Vikings. So I think they're going to go with the cornerback here, either with Fulton or possibly from TCU, Jeff Gladney. So I think they just got to take a cornerback here.
Yeah, but I mean, I personally just think that Damon Arnette is the better cornerback, than those two.
Yeah.
So, there still are talented cornerbacks. There's not guys who are as good as many of the ones we've seen go. So, since it's my round, I'm going to go with Arnette, but I could definitely see them going with your guys as well.
Yeah, and then we're going on to the Patriots here. Now,
not a regular thing, not something we've seen a lot in the past few years. The Patriots taking the 23rd pick right now.
No, the Patriots could take a quarterback. They could do a couple different things. Okay, if they take McKinney, then I think they got to take from Iowa, AJ EPENESA. But that's good. That makes sense because I had Jaguars taking AJ, but that's fine. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Then 24, we got the Saints.
New Orleans Saints, another good team in good shape. Could kind of, again, another team that could use cornerbacks, right? But man, there's some good players that we still got on this board. We still got MEKHI BECTON out of Louisville. Still got Patrick Queen on the board right now. Brandon Ayuk. I don't think they have good, obviously the greatest of all time in my opinion. They have Drew Brees.
Heck no, you're tripping. That's why they're going to take a quarterback here because Drew Brees is about to retire. They're taking a quarterback here.
They're not taking a quarterback right here.
Everyone has them taking Jordan Love. Every single.
An underrated guy, but they still have a couple more years of Drew Brees performing at a high level.
Yeah, but they need a backup quarterback.
Kind of a backup, but to me, this is too far. Patrick Queen has gone too far, and they still have a need at the linebacker position. So I think they have to go with Patrick Queen out of LSU here. He's just gone too far down. He's an elite player.
Patrick Queen. All right. I thought all right. I had him or a wide receiver going to the Raiders, but okay, that's fine. 25.
Yep.
At the Vikings
for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
Who's got going there?
I think if Jefferson falls this far, they take a wide receiver. If not, they take either Andrew Jackson or Joshua Jones, one of the offensive linemen, but one of those two.
Yep.
And 26, you got the Dolphins. This is where I had Swift going, the running back. This is where I think we take the running back. But who do you got here?
Yeah, I mean, this is a team we've already had them fill some of their positional needs in this draft. But they still could kind of use an offensive tackle here. And the fact that I believe MEKHI BECTON is still on the board right now, this is too far for him to go. I think that the Dolphins have got to be pretty happy if they've been able to fill the positional needs they've already filled and get BECTON. So I'm going with MEKHI BECTON out of Louisville here.
All right, that's true. 27, the Seahawks. I think they're going to go with GROSS-MATOS from Penn State. I think that's an obvious choice there, as Clowney's still up in the air.
Yep. Yeah.
And,
now we move on to the Baltimore Ravens, I guess. And that, I mean, they were a bunch of people's pick to win a Super Bowl, so they don't have a ton of needs. I'm going to go with Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma with this pick. I think that they could use another linebacker. Again, that is one of the strongest top-to-bottom defenses, but if there is a soft spot, it's at that linebacker position, and Kenneth Murray is a really good player, so I got to go with Kenneth Murray.
I got Zach Braun here from Wisconsin, but Murray sounds good. And if Queen does fall this far, I think the Ravens get Queen. But 29th, you got the Tennessee Titans. I got Marlon Davidson, the edge from Auburn here. He could be a linebacker. He could be a couple of different things. He's a very versatile player for Auburn. I got him going at 29 to the Titans.
All right. That sounds good to me. And now I guess I get to pick for your Green Bay Packers here.
Yep.
I hate the Packers. But to me, they still, they're relying on a bunch of young dudes on what's his name, Mercedes Lewis and Lazard. They're relying on a bunch of young dudes at the wide receiver spot. I think they could add another young dude and see if he turns out. I think it's a real good player here in T. Higgins out of Clemson. I would take him with the Packers.
You said who?
I would take T. Higgins out of Clemson here.
Yeah, no, he's a second rounder for sure. There's no way. There's no way our team's doing this. See, we're not stupid. We already taken. If we're gonna take a wide receiver, we're gonna take from Colorado, the dude. I don't know his name. It's like Shen Halls or something. But I think we're taking offensive tackle here in Joshua Jones because we're not stupid. We need offensive tackle. We need offensive
line, dude.
Huh?
You guys have a good offensive line, though.
No, we still need another offensive line. And if not him, then who knows? We might take a linebacker. But I think we're taking offensive tackle, wide receiver, linebacker.
Jones is definitely not a first-round talent. I think T. Higgins is, and that's no disrespect to Jones. He's a great player.
No, I think Jones is definitely late first round.
And I mean, I think T. Higgins has to go here, man. I think it's too far down for him to go. And since this is my pick, screw you and screw the Packers. We're going T. Higgins out of Clemson.
Yeah, and the Packers are going to screw you when we don't pick them. But 40 or 31, we got the 49ers. I think they're taking the cornerback here. Fulton hasn't been picked yet from LSU. I think he does go here because Diggs already went. So
that LSU is so good, man. I mean,
Alabama's better. Alabama's better.
5 or 6 first-round possible players. But I guess we'll close this out. 32nd pick, and we got the Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. They could use a running back, though. They got Damian Williams, who's been good there. They don't have Shady McCoy anymore. And I just think J.K. Dobbins is a guy that somebody's got to take a chance on. I would also consider Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin. I think Jonathan Taylor's had one of the best college careers of anybody, and both of those guys have potential to be a star in the NFL. But I'm going to go with J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State here. I think he's a slightly better prospect, even though Taylor has a slightly better track record.
I think they do go with a running back, or I think you had what was the linebacker from you had him going early from Oklahoma, I think it was. Who'd you take a couple picks ago?
Which one?
Linebacker.
Linebacker? Well, yeah. Kenneth Murray's off the board.
Yeah, Kenneth Murray. That's who I thought. I think he's gonna go 32nd to the Chiefs, or they go with OSU running back. But also, since you mentioned Jonathan Taylor, I think Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in this draft. no team's going to recognize it until he plays, but I think he's a dog. But
I mean, he's one of those guys, you know, we talk about, like, remember our NBA mock draft where we have guys like Cassius Winston and Marcus Howard going in the second round. I mean, basically anybody who stays for 4 years, gets a ton of touches, and racks up a ton of accolades is somehow viewed at as a little bit lower. It's more so in basketball, but potential reigns supreme, and a lot of people sleeping on Jonathan Taylor, but that guy has had an unbelievable career. He's absolutely showed out at Wisconsin. If he goes in the second round, somebody's a lucky team who ends up getting him.
And also, let me remind everyone, Herbert hasn't gone yet. Love hasn't gone yet because Ethan's kind of dumb and he hasn't taken 4 quarterbacks in the first round, or at least 3. He's only taken 2, which I think is absurd because I think the Saints are drafting a quarterback. I think the Chargers or Jaguars are drafting a quarterback. The Dolphins are taking a quarterback, and the Bengals. But Ethan, you and Justin Herbert can fight this one out, and Justin Love.
Okay,
we'll talk about Drew Brees.
I love Justin Herbert. I literally talked.
Oh, he doesn't love you after this. Trust me, he probably hates you.
I like the dude. I think he's a great player. I think he's a back of the first round type talent. I just don't think there's a back of the first round type team that's going to end up taking him. So he'll be a steal if he gets to the second round. Or I could see somebody like the Chargers taking a chance on him early. That's just not how I think it should play out. I think the way it does play out, or at least the way it should play out, he ends up going early in the second round and some team gets a steal on that.
Well, and also I think Drew Brees is going to be pretty mad at you too because they didn't take a quarterback. I think they take Jordan Love, and Drew Brees is going to make sure they take a quarterback. And also the Packers are going to make sure they don't draft if they do draft wide receiver, we'll draft a dude from Colorado, but we're not drafting no one.
I like Chenault a lot. I think T. Higgins is really good too. There's a lot of close positional battles in here.
Also, quick shout-outs to Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, all those guys. They're all dogs. This is a deep draft, but positional-wise, they can't get picked yet. So
yeah, I mean, it's going to be even like Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU, undersized guy, but unlikely to go in the first round. Really talented. Yeah, shout-outs to a lot of the guys in the second round. It's going to be one heck of a second round because there's a lot of talent that's going to be going here. Also,
my quick wild horse pick, I think the dude from Arlington Heights, John David Ellison, gets picked in the first round. Just a quick shout-out to that, man. I think he goes to the Packers 30th. But, we're going to end the show right there because I don't want any controversy, Ethan getting mad here. Obviously, we got the Bears who don't have a first-round pick because they are completely stupid and trade everything for Khalil Mack, who has underperformed. They don't have a quarterback. Nick Foles is old. Respect to him, but he's not going to get the starting job because the Bears are stupid. They're going to give it to Trubisky. The Bears are washed up. The Bears are done. It's the Packers league. It's the Packers division. It's over. Packers. Everyone, we will see you next time. Pack win the Super Bowl.
Old dudes are going to win it again. All right.
Adios, everyone.